Between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets, the Wolves, with a 106-99 victory, they have a 1-0 series lead. Big win on the road. Starts with Anthony Edwards. 43 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, but only 1 turnover, a steal, and 2 blocks. Anthony Edwards joins 2001 Kobe Bryant as the only player to have back-to-back 40-point games at the age of 22 or younger. Now, we got 14 and 10 from Mike Conley. We got 20 points for Karl-Anthony Towns, 6 points, 13 rebounds, 3 blocks, and a steal for Rudy Gobert. 16 off the bench for Naz Reid, and boy, did that man have a second-half flurry. It starts with Ant with me, man. Like, that is just the story of the game. And it felt like an extension of a lot of what we talked about and applauded Ant for in the Phoenix series. Just mature basketball being played. This is what you're showing me. This is what I'm going to take. If we're in a half-court situation and the defense is set and you're trying to show a body at the nail, I can either just get off of it and let my teammates play out of this, or if one of my teammates cuts through, I can now take a couple dribbles, operate in the mid-range area. I can rise up, use my shoulder, create a little bit of extra space, and I can just rise up and sprinkle in these jumpers. And again, like, I don't think the 3 assists really highlight how good of a passing game or playmaking game that he had. Like, I think he nailed like 95% of the reads that he was supposed to make. But it's just pure drive and kick, in pick and roll, coming off of handoffs, early transition attacks. He found a gap, and then based on what the defense did from Denver, I'm attacking or I'm passing it over here. And just him being able to maintain that on the road against the defending champs is super impressive. And that's before getting into like some of the legitimate highlights that the man had. Like, one, I should actually rewind. He set the tone on defense in this one. First possession of the game, let me just hound Jamal Murray over pick and roll. They reset after a Jokic post up. Murray tries to go again. Ant fights over. And then it's just 4 to 5 seconds of really strong isolation defense. Jamal Murray didn't have anything for him. And then Jokic gets called for, I think, the offensive 3 and the key from there. And I was like, oh. I think I noted on Twitter and during the watch party. Oh, I thought we were just going to see Jaden McDaniels on Jamal Murray like we always do. And we eventually got there. But it was cool as a basketball fan to see Ant saying, let me show you I'm here real quick. This may not be the primary matchup, but I'm going to let you know I will get in your jersey too. You can get some too. And between the defense, there was I wish I could remember which quarter it was in off the top of my head, but ends up being off-ball action. He switches onto Jokic. They dump it into Jokic. There's a cut from there, and then he gets a block with his offhand. And I'm just like, this man is incredible when he's locked in defensively. When he can give you that on ball, when he can make those kind of off-ball plays, and then offensively, he can get into the teeth of your defense. He can sprinkle in mid-range jumpers. Late game, we can just clear aside and let him sprinkle in post fadeaway after post fadeaway. If you're going to drop, he can still pull up from 3. He showcased everything. And so my story starts with Anthony Edwards. Like, I have Minnesota defense thoughts too, but I just want to give Ant his flowers first. That was just an incredible basketball game on both ends of the floor.
I agree. It was. He's had a great playoff run. We've talked about it a bunch. Well, I'm only saying because if you're watching this or listening to this, it's going to be Tuesday. Game 2 has already happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, I'm thinking about some of the things that could happen. So what else did you want to hit, Nekias?
I think just on the Minnesota front, one, their defense was incredible. They went with Cat on Jokic. They had Rudy Gobert roaming around. I think that largely went well. Though, as I'll leave it for you to get into the specifics, but when Jokic did get the Gobert switch or the Gobert matchup, like that looked a little bit different than some of the other possessions. And I'll leave that for you to opine on, because I know you have thoughts there. Had fun watching JD navigate screens, to kill Alexander Walker navigating screens. I will say, in terms of looking at potential game 2 adjustments, I do wonder how often Denver looks to poke at Mike Conley, not because he's a bad defender, but because Mike Conley showed, it was a lot of show and recover for Mike Conley. And so I wonder how often Denver tries to poke at that as a way to get Minnesota in rotation. Again, not Conley's bad, go at him and get him in foul trouble, anything like that. It just felt like, I think it was only 5 reps of screener as Conley as the screener defender in game 1. And that just felt low, considering what some of the other offensive possessions for Denver looked like. So I do wonder if that's going to be an adjustment to where they can try to get Jamal Murray either going downhill if he gets the switch, or if it is going to be a show and recover. All right, let's let Jokic play out of this and let's see if we can open up. So like that's on my mind as well. Again, not Conley slander. I want to be very clear on that front. Just more of a scheme / coverage deal. And if Denver can poke at that.
Well, I think the biggest thing is Minnesota put a lot on the table in that game 1 win that Denver now has to work to take off the table in game 2. So I'm very intrigued to see what they hit and how they hit it. The impact of what Mike Conley, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Naz Reid did in the second half was huge for Minnesota. And Coach Michael Malone highlighted it post-game, and I'm interested to see how they work to take them off the table. And I'm interested to see if Denver feels a better comfort on both ends of the floor, because it's very clear this is a Minnesota team that's not going away. They're looking to come in and take this series, and Denver's going to have to respond. I think Karl-Anthony Towns being able to hold up on both ends is something that Denver has to poke at. If he's able to drive against Aaron Gordon, that's one thing. I think if he can get to his spots in that matchup, that's huge, especially considering some of the second unit battle where Aaron Gordon's at the 5 and the Wolves have Cat and Naz Reid in there. That becomes key. Denver's okay with still switching KCP or Jamal Murray on the Cat. If Cat can once again be decisive, catch the ball in space, get right to his drive and finish, that's something that makes it hard for Denver to sustain defense throughout the entire game. And I think overall, I'm interested to see what the adjustment is for Denver as far as being able to contain the drive a little bit better and understanding this isn't purely just a pick and roll or set series. You're going to have to defend and build your help points out in a different way. It's pick and roll. They have to have their rotations locked in. Are they going to go 2 on the ball? Are they going to go drop? Are they going to be able to recover and contain the ball? If they do defend well, can they contain the next drive? If Minnesota could just live and drive and kick with what Ant's doing, with what Cat's doing, it makes it really tough. So I want to see how they're able to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, and actually, you know what? Because if it's going to be that playmaking blend with all these things on the table, Minnesota has a really good chance to take this. You mentioned Minnesota's defense and the brilliance of Rudy Gobert as far as the timing on when to roam and when to help. And I think for Denver offensively, again, it's about poking at what Minnesota did, because Minnesota defended with conviction. Rudy Gobert wasn't just, I'm defending Aaron Gordon at the dunker spot. I'm going to roam and help and stunt and recover and take the lob away. He was there on post-ups. He was there just causing havoc no matter where they put Aaron Gordon. So now it's on Denver to flip that against Minnesota. One of the biggest keys to that working was the screen navigation from Minnesota's guards and wings. If we get into a scenario where Denver sets higher screens and they get a clean hit, Jamal Murray had a lot of space to operate with.
Mm-hmm.
And if Jamal Murray is going to have that space and be able to take and make those shots, are you as comfortable with it? Because there were possessions where Karl-Anthony Towns was literally just like, actually, not my job. I'm going to get back to Jokic on this short roll, which sounds great until you realize the possessions where Jamal Murray just turned the corner and finished. Of course, Rudy's lurking, but there's an element of Denver's offense where they don't have to go to where that help is. And that's where I'm interested to see in how does Denver explore that space? Can we get Jokic clear a wing, get him just on the short roll? Can Jamal Murray take and make those shots? Can you just poke at Cat? Do you go with the inverted pick and roll to make Rudy switch on to Jokic and Jokic goes to work, or you at least have gotten away from that alignment? That's where I think Denver's most important battles lie, to flip some of what Minnesota did back onto them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think offensively is the big key.
Okay. I'm glad you brought up like the Cat portion of things, because that was one thing I wanted to ask you about, actually, just how you felt about that gambit, because it felt like there was a real emphasis from Cat in particular. We are not opening up some of these pocket passes to Jokic and letting him get in rhythm and getting right into the floater and things like that. I'm going to trust Jaden or whoever's guarding Jamal Murray to navigate. I'm taking this. And in the event that Jamal Murray is able to get all the way downhill, if my guy gets clipped, now it's Rudy on Aaron Gordon. So Rudy can step up and kind of take these things away.